Welcome back to Cartoon Analysis. I'm your host Giovanni Perez Mendez, and in this video, I will be reviewing Season 3 Episode 8, Part 1 of Star vs. the Forces of Evil, other known as Lint Catcher. Let's check it out. In Star's room on Mooney, we see and hear her singing a burrito song that she had recently made up. Marco then enters the room through the window and surprises her, so she accidentally throws her burrito at him and knocks him down on the floor. Out of shot. Aside from Star are her bed and a battleship game with another person's drink, signifying someone else was just playing with her. After Marco gets up and Star fully realizes it's her best friend, she asks about why he is there, in a way making it seem like she doesn't want him to be around her anymore. After Marco explains his reason, Tom enters Star's room from the bathroom holding a burrito and singing the burrito song. He realizes Marco is back on Mooney and the two of them are excited to see each other again, but in less than a second later, a guard appears and tackles Marco, thinking he is an intruder. More guards begin entering Star's bedroom to protect her while keeping Marco on the ground. Star and Marco both explain to the guards he isn't an intruder and how he is allowed to be a knight. All the guards start laughing at him while Star watches, and Marco looks miserable. At King River and Queen Moon's throne, the guards are still holding on to Marco with Star nearby and begin talking to them about why he is back. Marco wants to be a knight, but the cape he was given is actually King River's meat blanket, and he would have to go through intense and long training to be ready to defend Mooney. Marco then becomes discouraged by all of this, and Star notices this. Another thing Marco has to do to be a knight is to be a squire, and he is up to the task. So River recommends one to Moon that Marco could work for, but she informs him that the knight he was talking about is dead. So since they don't have any knights, Moon tells Star Marco should stay with her until they figure things out, and Marco smiles, liking this idea. But Star has a quick and immediate answer of a knight Marco could work for, so she can get him out her way. As Star and Marco are walking downstairs, the two of them have an awkward conversation. More for Marco, and she asks about what did Jackie think about him coming to Mooney. He informs Star that the two of them had a breakup and she doesn't seem to care, like she has no feelings for him whatsoever anymore, which really ruined an arc, since they had a season almost dedicated to Star liking Marco, and how in the end of Star Crushed she confesses her feelings before leaving Earth. After this, Marco asks if Star and Tom are dating, and she is quick to respond in a different tone, before changing it again as they arrive at the night of the wash. Star and Marco find him while he is sorting out socks, and Star introduces Lavabo to Marco to be his squire. Lavabo is excited about this idea, but Marco would like to work upstairs in the castle to see Star more and communicate, but she immediately gets angry about this and storms out of the room, leaving to the upstairs. Marco regrets saying this to her in the tone he did, but is too late. He then starts to feel guilty and bad about this, but that doesn't last long as he accepts his first job from Lavabo as a squire. Star reaches the top of the stairs again, but is mocking Marco and the conversation they had, upset with him. But before she keeps going on about this, she trips over Eclipse's chain connected to her leg in the rose garden and falls over. Eclipse is feeding the birds with Star, and they talk about the situation with her and Marco. The Queen of Darkness turns more into the Queen of Love when realizing what is going on and that Star has feelings for Marco still, even though she tries to hide it as much as she can. The conversation leads to more of Star pretending she doesn't care about Marco or like him still, but realizes she still does in a secret way. Star starts feeling guilty about how she treated him and feels bad, but then tells Eclipse about making him a laundry squire. Eclipse immediately is worried for Marco and knows what will happen by the end of the day for him, since no squire has ever survived be a night of the wash. Star realizes what will happen and rushes to Lavabo asking for where is Marco. He informs her and she immediately jumps into the Lint Catcher to find him during his first job. She walks through and finds a weird monster that is made out of lint and doesn't think much of it. Star then finds Marco, but he is trying to keep quiet and telling her to do the same, but it becomes too late. The lint all turns into one monster and pushes Star out of the way, grabbing Marco. She saves him from it but is then caught in the lint like Marco before. Marco then rushes to save Star before she is eaten and defends her and gets eaten himself. The monster then spits Marco out and he tells Star what they need to do to defeat the monster. The two of them return to themselves while having another great battle against a monster and defeat it. They then make an exit out of the Lint Catcher, landing into the pile of clothes outside. Lavabo is impressed and knows Marco will be a great squire. But before he accepts to work for him full-time, Star takes Marco aside and talks to him in private. She talks to Marco in a way to apologize for how she acted and thinks it may be difficult with him around to be a good princess. Marco feels bad about what he has done and is immediate to return to Earth. Star doesn't want this to happen though and brings him to an area where she creates him a duplicate bedroom of his own with her wand, but instead it is in Mooney. Marco is happy to see this and is so excited, but Star breaks the moment for him to calm down for a second to make him her new squire. The two of them have a final good moment in this episode but is broken by Marco asking if princesses even have squires. But Star reassures him. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on bell notifications to be notified of whenever I upload or stream. Leave a like and comment down below your thoughts and opinions. Finally, share this with your friends and family to help my community, Team Analyzer, become stronger. I'm your host Giovanni Perez Mendez, signing off.